The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a blood-red hue over the waters of the Pacific. The coastal town of Astoria, nestled between the evergreen-clad hills and the hauntingly vast expanse of the ocean, seemed to come alive with the eerie tales that lurked in the shadows. My curiosity about the legendary Pacific phantoms had always lingered, like a persistent fog rolling in from the sea. I, a writer, seeking inspiration for my next novel, found myself drawn to the whispers of the Salish Sea, a place where the mundane and the supernatural danced on the fine line between reality and nightmare. The locals spoke of the ghost ship, a spectral vessel that materialized on misty nights, its sails billowing in the wind that only the dead could feel. Intrigued, I set out one cold evening, accompanied only by the sound of my footsteps on the creaky wooden boardwalk. As I approached the desolate pier, the air thickened with an unnatural chill. The harbor, once bustling with the activity of fishermen, now lay silent. I could hear the distant cries of seagulls, their mournful tones blending with the ominous howling of the wind. Suddenly, a pale light flickered in the distance. The ghost ship emerged from the mist, a ghastly apparition of a bygone era. Its hull, weathered and worn, seemed to moan with the weight of untold stories. I watched, paralyzed, as ethereal figures manned the rigging, their eyes hollow and vacant. A disembodied voice echoed in my mind, whispering tales of lost souls condemned to sail the seas for eternity. The ship drifted closer, and the air grew thick with the scent of salt water and decay. I could feel the eyes of the phantoms upon me, their gaze penetrating my very soul. Driven by a mix of fear and fascination, I followed the ghost ship as it glided along the coastline. The waves murmured secrets of shipwrecks and tragedy, each crest and trough revealing the sorrows of those who had met a watery grave. As the night wore on, the ship faded into the mist, leaving me alone on the desolate shore. The sound of distant footsteps reached my ears, quickening my pulse. I turned, expecting to find an ordinary resident of Astoria, but instead, I was met with the spectral visage of a woman in a tattered Victorian-era gown. In that moment, I was transported to another time, a time when Astoria was a bustling port filled with the laughter of sailors and the clinking of glasses in crowded taverns. The woman beside me was no longer a phantom, but a living, breathing soul. Her name was Eleanor, a widow whose husband had set sail and never returned. As the story unfolded, I felt the pain of her loss, the ache of waiting for a love that would never return. Eleanor's eyes reflected the sorrow of countless others who had shared a similar fate. The vision faded, leaving me standing alone on the moonlit shore. The ghost ship had vanished, but the echoes of the past lingered in the air. I realized that the Pacific phantoms were not mere specters. They were the remnants of lives cut short, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. Haunted by the encounters of that fateful night, I delved deeper into the mysteries of the West Coast. I discovered tales of haunted lighthouses where lonely keepers still roamed the towers, their lanterns casting an otherworldly glow. The rugged cliffs bore witness to the anguished cries of souls lost to the treacherous waves below. The once charming seaside town now revealed its darker side, a place where the boundary between reality and the supernatural was blurred. The locals spoke in hushed tones, warning me to tread carefully, for the spirits of the Pacific held their secrets close. One stormy night, as rain lashed against the windows of my rented room, I heard a rhythmic knocking at the door. Cautiously, I opened it to find a group of hooded figures standing in the hallway. Their faces remained hidden, obscured by the shadows of their hoods. Without uttering a word, they beckoned me to follow. Intrigued and unnerved, I trailed behind them through the deserted streets. We reached an ancient cemetery, its tombstones weathered by time and the relentless sea breeze. The hooded figures gathered around a weathered mausoleum, and as they chanted in an otherworldly language, the heavy stone door creaked open. A bone-chilling gust of wind swept through the cemetery, extinguishing the lanterns that flickered at the graves. From the darkness emerged the spirits of those who rested eternally, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly radiance. The hooded figures revealed themselves as guardians of the spectral realm, tasked with maintaining the delicate balance between the living and the dead. They spoke of a curse that bound the town, a curse born from the tragedies that had befallen the sailors and settlers who had once called Astoria home. As I listened, I felt a profound connection to the spirits that surrounded me. Their stories became a part of me, etched into the very fabric of my being. The guardians, satisfied that I understood the weight of the Pacific Phantom's tales, vanished into the night. Days turned into weeks, and my time in Astoria drew to a close. The Pacific Phantoms had revealed their stories, leaving an indelible mark on my soul. As I boarded the departing ship, I looked back at the town shrouded in mist, knowing that the spirits of the West Coast would forever linger in the whispers of the Salish Sea. The ghost ship reappeared on the horizon, a silent tribute to the lives lost to the unforgiving waters. As I sailed away, the echoes of the Pacific Phantoms followed me, a haunting melody that resonated in the depths of my memories. The West Coast had shared its secrets, and I, a mere storyteller, had become a vessel for the tales of the restless souls who wandered between the realms of the living and the dead. The Pacific Phantoms would forever be a part of me, their stories echoing through the pages of the novel that would bear witness to their eternal presence.